Every wife needs to hear this about her husband. He may not always say it, but deep down he wants to be seen, not just needed. It's easy to fall into roles, to expect him to be the provider, the fixer, the one who keeps things together. But beneath the responsibilities, beneath the tasks, is a man who hopes you see him. His heart, his dreams, his fears. Not just what he does, but who he is. Your husband carries burdens he doesn't always talk about. There are things that weigh on him at work, in life, in his mind. Sometimes he feels like he has to carry them alone because he believes it's his job to be strong. But strength doesn't mean silence. Strength doesn't mean isolation. And sometimes the greatest gift you can give him is to look him in the eyes and ask, how are you really? And then to listen, not to fix, not to judge, but simply to be there. Your husband wants to be seen, not just needed. And while those two things may sound similar, they are worlds apart. Needing someone is about utility. It's about roles, responsibilities, what they provide, what they do. Seeing someone is deeper. It's about recognizing who they are when they're not performing, not fixing, not solving, but simply existing. Every man hopes that the woman he loves doesn't just value what he brings to the table, but values him apart from. It's easy to fall into patterns in a marriage where each person plays their part without thinking twice. He goes to work, he provides, he takes care of things around the house, he shows up when needed. But over time, a man can start to feel like he's being measured only by what he accomplishes, like his worth is tied solely to his ability to meet needs. And when that happens, something inside him quietly begins to shrink. Because while a man wants to be useful, he doesn't want to be used. He wants to matter for more than the tasks he completes. When a husband feels seen, it touches a part of him that few things can reach. It tells him, I notice you. I notice your effort, your quiet sacrifices, the moments you choose to love, even when it's hard. It tells him you're more than your paycheck, more than your strength, more than the roles you filled. Seeing him means you take time to understand his inner world, the dreams he set aside, the fears he won't say out loud, the weight he carries even when he pretends he's fine. Many men won't ask for that kind of attention outright, because they won't say, please notice me. Please ask me how I'm really doing. It's not because they don't want it. It's because they've been taught that to want it makes them weak. But deep down, every man longs to be truly known by the woman he loves. He wants her to see past the tough exterior, past the steady hands, and recognize the boy who still wonders if he's enough. When you see your husband, you give him permission to stop performing for a moment. You create a space where he can exhale, where he doesn't have to hold everything together, where he can admit that sometimes he's tired, sometimes he's scared, sometimes he doesn't have the answers. And in that moment, your presence becomes more powerful than any solution. Because it tells him he doesn't have to earn your love by being strong. He already has it, even when he's vulnerable. There's a difference between saying thank you for what you do and saying I'm so grateful for who you are. One focuses on output, the other focuses on essence. And the truth is, most men hear the first a lot more than the second, but it's the second that sinks deep into their soul. It's the second that makes them feel safe, chosen, cherished. Seeing your husband means asking him questions, not just about what happened today, but about how he's feeling. It means noticing when he's quiet and gently inviting him to share without pressure. It means recognizing his love in the small things. The way he makes sure the doors are locked at night, the way he checks the tires on your car before a trip, the way he quietly worries about the family's future. Your husband doesn't need you to fix him or even to understand everything he's going through, but he needs to know you see him. That even when life gets busy, even when the world demands more of him than he feels he can give, he's not invisible in his own home. He's not just the man who shows up to get things done. He's the man you chose. The man you're still choosing. Because at the end of the day, every husband wants to feel like more than a role. He wants to feel like a person, like a partner, like someone who matters for who he is, not just what he does. And when you see him in that way, you give him the greatest gift a wife can give. You remind him that being loved isn't something he has to earn, it's something he already has. Just by being him. He carries silent burdens he won't always speak about. And it's not because he doesn't trust you. It's not because he doesn't want to let you in. It's because somewhere along the way, he learned that part of loving you is protecting you, even if that means protecting you from his own struggles. A husband often feels the weight of the world on his shoulders, quietly, invisibly. He feels the pressure to provide, to lead, to make sure everything and everyone is okay. And when things get hard, when he's worried about work, finances, family, or even his own self-doubt, His first instinct isn't to share, it's to shield. He tells himself, I'll figure it out, I'll carry this, she doesn't need to worry about it. And so he tucks it away, not because he wants distance from you, but because he believes it's his responsibility to stand between you and the storm. But the truth is, even the strongest men get tired. Even the most reliable, steady husbands have moments where the weight feels too heavy. And the longer he carries those silent burdens alone, the more isolated he begins to feel. He may still show up, he may still do everything that needs to be done, but inside he's fighting battles you can't always see. And sometimes the hardest part isn't the burden itself, it's feeling like no one notices how hard he's trying. Every man wants to be strong for the people he loves. But strength doesn't mean silence. Strength doesn't mean pretending everything's fine when it's not. And yet, for many husbands, admitting they're struggling feels like admitting they're failing. It feels like letting down the very people they're trying to protect. That's why so many of them keep it inside. That's why they carry it quietly, even when it's breaking them down. One of the most powerful things you can do for your husband is to create a space where he knows he doesn't have to be on all the time. A space where he can take off the armor. A space where he doesn't have to have all the answers. Because when he feels safe enough to lay down those burdens, even for a moment, it doesn't make him weaker, it makes him stronger. It reminds him that he's not alone. It reminds him that love isn't something he has to perform for, it's something that's already his. Even when he's at his most human. Sometimes he won't know how to talk about what's weighing on him. Sometimes he won't even have the words, but what matters isn't always the conversation. It's the invitation. It's the quiet reassurance that says, I see you. I'm here. You don't have to carry this alone. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply sit beside him in the silence, letting him know you're not going anywhere. You may never fully put those burdens down. That's the nature of the responsibility he feels. But knowing that someone sees him, knowing that someone cares enough to ask, knowing that he's not invisible in his struggle, that changes everything. It doesn't make the weight disappear, but it makes it bearable. It gives him the strength to keep going. Every husband carries silent burdens, but he shouldn't have to carry them alone. And sometimes, what he needs most isn't a solution or advice or a plan. Sometimes, what he needs most is simply to know that the woman beside him is willing to walk with him, even through the things he doesn't have the words to say. In the end, love isn't just about celebrating the good times. It's about standing close when the road gets heavy. It's about being a soft place for him to fall, even when he doesn't think he's allowed to fall. It's about reminding him that no matter what burdens he carries, he's still worthy of love, rest, and peace. And that's a truth every husband needs to know, and every wife has the power to show. Respect fuels him more than praise, and while praise feels good in the moment, respect goes deeper, it lasts longer, it builds something inside a man that praise alone can't touch. Praise is about what he's done. Respect is about who he is. And every husband longs to know that the woman he loves doesn't just appreciate his actions, but honors his character. It's easy to thank him for the things he does, for fixing the sink, for working hard, for showing up on time, for taking care of the family. And those words of gratitude matter. But what fuels a man to keep going, to keep striving, isn't just hearing thank you. It's hearing, I trust you. It's knowing that even when he fails, even when he makes mistakes, you still believe in his ability to figure it out. You still stand behind him. You still see him as capable, valuable, worthy of leading and loving. A man can hear all the compliments in the world, but if he feels like he's constantly being questioned, corrected, doubted, or dismissed, those compliments lose their meaning. Because what he really needs is to feel that the person closest to him sees him as competent, sees him as reliable, sees him as someone worthy of respect, even when he doesn't get it all right. Respect doesn't mean blind agreement. It doesn't mean pretending he's perfect. It doesn't mean never challenging him, but it does mean honoring his intentions, even when the outcome isn't perfect. It means recognizing the effort beneath the mistakes. It means speaking to him in a way that builds him up, not tears him down. Because words have power, and the words you choose can either make him feel like a man or make him feel small. When a man feels respected, something shifts inside him. He stands taller. He tries harder. He wants to live up to the belief you have in him. Respect calls out the best in him. It draws him forward. It gives him a reason to fight through the hard days. Because in the eyes of the woman he loves, He's not just enough. He's worthy. Many husbands walk through life feeling the weight of expectations they can't always meet. They wonder if they're doing enough, if they're being enough. And when respect is missing, they start to believe they're failing. But when respect is present, when it's woven into the everyday words, the tone, the small affirmations, it becomes a well they draw strength from. It becomes the quiet voice in their mind that says, "You've got this. She believes in you." Respect shows up in little ways. In listening to his ideas even when you disagree, and giving him room to lead in his own way. In not undermining him in front of others. In letting him finish his thoughts without interruption. In valuing his perspective even when it's different from yours. Those small moments speak louder than big speeches. They tell him, "I see you as a partner, not a project." Praise is fleeting. It's tied to moments, accomplishments, tasks. Respect is steady. It's tied to identity. And over time, it's respect that holds a relationship together. Because a man who feels respected by his wife will go to greater lengths to protect, cherish, and care for her. Not because he has to, but because her belief in him fuels a deeper desire to rise to the challenge. In the end, every husband wants to know that he's more than a role, more than a paycheck, more than a set of chores and duties. He wants to know that in the eyes of his wife, he's a man worth following, worth trusting, worth standing beside. And when he feels that, it unlocks something powerful inside him. It pushes him to be better, to love deeper, to fight harder for the life you're building together. Respect fuels him more than praise ever could. Because respect tells him, "I see your heart, I see your effort, I see the man you are, and I'm proud to stand with you." And that's a message every husband needs to hear. Not just once, but again and again in the quiet, ordinary moments of life. He craves partnership, not perfection. And that distinction matters more than we often realize. Because while perfection can be admired from a distance, partnership can only be experienced up close. Every husband dreams of walking through life with someone who's not waiting for him to get everything right, but someone who's willing to figure it out with him, side by side. Perfection is an illusion. It creates pressure, performance, a sense that love is conditional on doing things just right. But partnership is different. Partnership says, we're in this together, we're going to make mistakes, we're going to stumble, but we're not going anywhere. And that's what a man truly longs for. Not someone perfect, but someone present. Not someone who needs to always be right, but someone willing to grow, to adapt, to stand beside him even in the mess. It's easy to feel like we have to live up to an impossible standard in relationships, to think we have to be flawless or have it all figured out to earn love and respect. But the truth is, what most husbands desire isn't a perfect wife. It's a real one. A wife who's honest about her struggles, who's willing to admit when she's hurting, who's courageous enough to say, "I don't know the answer either, but let's work through it." That vulnerability, that authenticity creates a bond that no amount of perfection can match. A husband doesn't want to feel like he's living with a critic. He wants to feel like he's living with a teammate, someone who celebrates his wins, but also sits with him in his failures. Someone who doesn't just point out what's wrong, but helps him see what's still possible. A partner looks forward, looks beyond the current struggle, and reminds him that no setback is final when you're in it together. When a man feels like he has to be perfect to be loved, or that his wife has to be perfect for their relationship to work, he starts to pull away. Perfection creates distance. It makes both people feel like they're failing, no matter how hard they try. But partnership closes that gap. It draws them closer. It says, "I'm not here because you're perfect. I'm here because I choose you, every version of you, even the flawed ones." Partnership means shared responsibility. It means no one has to carry the whole load alone. It means taking turns, leading and following, depending on what the moment requires. It means knowing that when one person is weak, the other steps in stronger. Not to shame, not to criticize, but to support. A husband longs for that kind of give and take, not a relationship where both are competing for control, but one where both are contributing their strengths, lifting each other's weaknesses, building something neither could build alone. Perfection is rigid. It doesn't leave room for growth, for failure, for learning. But partnership is flexible. It makes space for change. It gives permission to evolve. A husband who feels partnered knows he doesn't have to have it all together to be loved. He knows he can fall short without falling out of favor. He knows that love isn't waiting for him at the finish line. It's walking with him every step of the way. When you choose partnership over perfection, you give each other the freedom to be human, to mess up, to apologize, to start again. And in that freedom, you build trust, you build resilience, you build a love that isn't fragile but strong enough to weather life's inevitable storms. He craves partnership, not perfection, not because he doesn't care about becoming better, but because he knows the journey matters more than the image. Because he knows that the most meaningful relationships aren't built on flawless performances, but on shared experiences, on showing up again and again, imperfect but committed. In the end, what every husband wants is a hand to hold, not a scorecard. A partner to walk with, not a standard to live up to. And when he finds that, he doesn't just feel loved, he feels safe, empowered, and inspired to become the best version of himself, not because he has to, but because he wants to for the sake of the partnership you're building together. He fears failure more than he shows, and it's not because he's weak or insecure. It's because he feels a deep responsibility to be enough, to provide enough, to be the man he believes he's supposed to be. Every husband carries that silent pressure, whether he speaks it or not. And even when he looks calm on the outside, even when he shrugs things off or jokes about mistakes, inside there's often a quiet voice asking, am I doing enough? Am I enough? For many men, failure feels personal. It's not just about missing a goal or falling short at work. It's about letting down the people they love. It's about believing they've failed not just at a task, but at their role as a protector, a provider, a leader. That's why he doesn't always talk about it. That's why he hides it beneath a smile or a silent evening or a quick change of subject. Because to admit he's afraid of failing feels like admitting he's already failed. But the truth is that fear isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of how much he cares. He fears failure because he doesn't want to let you down. He doesn't want to let his family down. He wants to be the kind of man you can rely on, the kind of man his children can look up to. And when he struggles, when he doubts himself, he carries those fears quietly because he believes it's his job to carry them alone. Every husband wants to be seen as strong, but sometimes strength isn't about having no fear, it's about moving forward despite the fear. And when he knows you see his effort, when he knows you respect the way he keeps showing up even when he's uncertain, it gives him the courage to keep going. Not because he feels pressure to perform, but because he feels supported, valued, trusted. He may never say it out loud, but what he needs isn't someone to fix the fear or dismiss it. He doesn't need you to tell him it's silly or unnecessary. He needs you to remind him that failing at something doesn't make him a failure. He needs to hear that his worth isn't tied to his wins or losses, that your respect for him doesn't rise and fall with his achievements, that even if he stumbles, even if he falls short, you're still in his corner. When a man feels safe enough to admit his fears without being judged, something powerful happens. He stops hiding. He stops pretending. He starts trusting that he doesn't have to carry everything alone. And that trust builds intimacy. It builds connection. It builds a partnership where both people can show up fully, without masks, without performance. He fears failure more than he shows because he wants to be enough for you. He wants to be your safe place, your steady ground. And while he may not always get it right, while he may sometimes fall under the weight of his own expectations, he never stops trying. Every day he's showing up. He's fighting battles you can't always see. And every day he wonders if he's measuring up. Your belief in him matters more than you know. The simple words, I see how hard you're trying. I'm proud of you. I'm with you no matter what, are not small things. They are fuel. They are oxygen. They remind him that love isn't a test he has to keep passing. It's a place he can rest, a place where he doesn't have to prove anything to be worthy of belonging. In the end, his fear of failure isn't about ego, it's about love. It's about wanting to live up to the trust you've placed in him. And when you stand beside him, when you hold space for his fears, when you remind him that failure doesn't define him, you give him the courage to keep going, not just for himself, but for the life you're building together. He fears failure more than he shows. But with you by his side, he knows that even if he falls, he's never falling alone. And sometimes that's all a man needs to rise again.